Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Here's XRP's price if it is able to fully replace SWIFT. Spoiler alert, XRP is not going to replace SWIFT. Okay guys, let's get into it. So, I'm not really sure why in 2024 we're still really discussing this, to be honest with you. I'm assuming it must be a slow news day for these guys, but yeah, it just simply isn't going to happen, guys, to be honest with you. It's really not. So there's not really much of a conversation to be had here. But I'll tell you just basically what they've said, just so you've got the idea. If XRP's price is able to fully replace SWIFT, it could go into the thousands of dollars. But that's just not going to happen. And I'll just break down why. So let's just go to who owns SWIFT. So we've got here, SWIFT isn't owned by any single entity. Rather, it is a member-owned cooperative whose shareholders represent around 3,500 member organizations. Headquartered in LewLew, Belgium, the system is overseen by the central banks of the G10 countries, the European Central Bank, and the National Bank of Belgium. Okay, so what that basically means is SWIFT is actually owned by banks, by institutions, right? Primarily. And so you've got to really think about this, right? Ripple, are the biggest holders of XRP, right? And they also have RippleNet. Now, think about it like this. SWIFT is something that all these banks, benefit from because they have the stronghold over it, right? They created this network. So, they obviously are able to control their own narrative while using SWIFT. Do you really think that SWIFT and these banks are going to say, hey, you know what? Let's give up our stranglehold that we have over the banking, the banking system, the banking industry, by giving all of this dominance that we have over to Ripple via XRP? Why are they going to allow that to happen? Right? If I'd be honest with you, and I think this is plausible, can't say 100% if it's true, but I do think it's plausible to say the whole point of the SEC lawsuit originally was to slow Ripple down. I think that is a plausible thing. I think it could have been a thing where, hey, we don't want this to go too far because we don't want them treading on our toes. And so it was to try and help the legacy banking systems to keep their stranglehold over the banking industry, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't do that kind of stuff unless there's, substantial information. But I do think that is a plausible thing because we've seen a lot of stuff in terms of even ETHgate, right? We've seen a lot of things where a lot of this stuff seems shady. There's been really shady activity behind the lawsuit that we've unearthed, right? So I think that's a plausible thing to say. I'm not going to say that 100% is what happened because I don't know. So, I'm not going to just push that, but I think that's a plausible thing to put out there. I think that is a very real possibility. So, look, when we look at this at the end of the day, if SWIFT was to just basically let Ripple replace SWIFT with RippleNet or whatever, the amount of money that XRP would then end up getting, and then what Ripple would basically then have the stranglehold over all the other banks, right? The banks would lose their dominance because Ripple, having the huge escrow that they have of XRP, would be, who knows what kind of company they would have at that point, maybe $1 trillion company, something like that, maybe, I don't know, because, they've already got billions, they've got $1 billion in the bank right now, and we'll look at what XRP's current price is. So, when you think about it from that perspective, if you're giving them, up to a market cap of $1,000 from fully replacing SWIFT, who knows what kind of numbers they'd be dealing with at that point. So yeah, I just don't think they're gonna then just say, hey, yeah, we're just gonna give all this up to just let this one company take over completely, and we're gonna all agree that we're happy to lose our dominance over the banking industry so that Ripple can get it through XRP. It's just not realistic, guys. And look, even if we look at how long Ripple have been around and we look at what they currently have, the partnerships, I think it's roughly around 300 or 400 banks they currently have in partnerships, right? That's the current number that we know of. So it's not like it's not like we're talking that they've got thousands of banks working with them. They haven't, so is it possible they could take a percentage? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think the percentage is even going to be as big as what some people anticipate. And the reason I say that is, one, we can kind of see it so far, and two, we can also think about it from this perspective. Like, for example, one of the great things that XRP does is eliminate the need for a Nostro Vostro account, which saves banks a lot of money. But the problem with that is, with bigger banks who, have real big money anyway, they actually make money from Nostro Vostro accounts. And the reason being is because the bigger banks charge smaller banks who don't have enough money to have Nostro Vostro accounts. They charge the smaller banks to use their Nostro Vostro accounts to do cross-border payments. And so for them, yeah, that's like a little side hustle for them, right? They're just making money off of the back of these small banks by having these Nostro Vostro accounts placed in other countries. And so for them, they might be like, hey, if this XRP comes in, like it's actually going to mess with our business because we're making money through Nostro Vostro accounts. That's like a nice little earner for us. Do you see what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't think they're going to be so quick to want to just give that up. Like, they're not going to want to give up their gravy train. Do you see what I'm saying? So the smaller banks, yeah, they're going to want to use XRP and RippleNet because they're going to think, well, now if I just use XRP instead, I don't need to keep paying these banks to do cross-border payments anymore, right? We just use XRP and that eliminates that whole thing. So for them, yeah, I think that's a very plausible thing. And David Schwartz has said this, like they changed their client base that they was trying to capture from the big banks to the smaller banks. And that was exactly the reason why. So, this is all confirmed. And so when it comes to this, like, let's just go with the idea that XRP is going to replace SWIFT. Let's just say it could happen, even though, I think the chances of it are slim to none, but let's go with it. Even if we say that this is going to happen, I'm telling you now, it's going to take years upon years for it to fully happen. Like, this isn't going to be no overnight thing. It's not going to be this flip of the switch where every bank just starts using it. It's going to be a very slow and staggered process. So, in my opinion, like when it comes to this, like the likelihood of this occurring is just so minimal that I can't really pay any attention. I don't really give it any credibility. David Schwartz has said, very recently, and I've covered this before, David Schwartz said himself, banks are not going to be Ripple's success story. He said that in an interview very recently. So, even David Schwartz, like the fact that they're doing like the stablecoin, they've done the AMM, they're doing smart contracts now. This is them trying to look at other ways because cross-border payments just isn't working as successful as they want it to work. That's just the truth of the matter. So they're looking at other ways to build value now. And I think that's fair. Like, at the end of the day, if you've been so focused on one thing and it's not really going as well as you want it to go, then yeah, you start looking at other things. I'm not saying that means they ditch, cross-border payments altogether. I don't think that's the case at all. But I think they're just understanding that, hey, this may take a lot longer to work out the way we want it to, and it may not be as successful as we originally thought. So let's just look at other things as well. Like, let's look at what else we can do to bring value to XRP and the XRP ledger. And I think that's a completely fair thing to do. I've got no issue with that because that's what we ultimately want, right? We want value to XRP. So yeah, overall, guys, I just don't think this is likely anyway. So yes, if XRP was to replace SWIFT, it could go to like $1,000 plus and stuff like that. But the likelihood of that occurring is just so small and slim that, it's not really worth really thinking about because the chances of it is just so minimal. So, I'll leave it at that. But, obviously, if you guys want to believe that stuff, up to you. But, I think there's more than enough evidence out there. And David Schwartz himself saying stuff like, he's actually addressed it himself. Like, there's enough stuff out there to show that the likelihood of this stuff is just, it's just not credible, to be honest. Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.